All right, Niners faithful, let's talk. Things around the San Francisco 49ers have been wild lately, and there's a lot to unpack about what's really going on with Brock Purdy, the team's momentum, and how the season could shift depending on how this injury drama plays out. It all started back in Week 1 against the Seattle Seahawks. That game had everything: drama, grit, and a clutch final drive that reminded everyone why Purdy had earned the trust of the locker room and the fan base. 6 completions out of 6 attempts in the closing minutes. Ice in his veins, leading the Niners to a statement win to open the NFC West campaign. Everything looked perfect until the next day when reality hit hard. That was when the team revealed Purdy had picked up a turf toe injury. And from that moment, things started to get complicated. Now, turf toe doesn't sound like a big deal to most people. It's not a broken bone, it's not a torn ligament. But for an athlete who relies on quick movement, agility, and planting that foot to throw accurately, it's brutal. The pain lingers, the recovery is unpredictable, and if you push it too soon, it bites back. That's exactly what happened to Purdy. He missed a couple of games, and Jones came in and played lights-out football, and then when Purdy tried to return against Jacksonville in Week 4, it all went downhill again. You could see he wasn't comfortable. He couldn't drive off that foot. He was throwing off balance, and the precision that defines his game just wasn't there. He re-aggravated the injury, and since then, it's been this frustrating cycle of limited in practice and day-to-day, without any real progress. And look, everyone knows turf toe can have different levels of severity. Some guys shake it off in a few weeks, others deal with it for months. Joe Burrow had a case so bad he needed surgery and was ruled out until December. So, when we hear that Purdy is close but still not practicing fully, it raises serious questions. There was even that report from the Falcons game, when the Niners pulled off a huge Sunday night win, that got everyone talking. Melissa Stark mentioned during the broadcast that Purdy told her any wrong movement could set him back completely, and that he's never dealt with something that drags on this long. That kind of frustration tells you everything. He's not just dealing with pain, he's dealing with the mental grind of not knowing when his body will cooperate again. The team had hoped that pre-game workout before the Falcons matchup would be the breakthrough moment. They thought he'd go through drills, feel good, and finally start trending toward a full return. Instead, he came out of it sore, disappointed, and back at square one. It's been the same story ever since: limited practices, partial movement drills, and no clear timetable. Honestly, at this point, there's almost no chance we see him against Houston. Jones is set to start again, and maybe that's for the best. The Texans' field has that rough turf surface, and so does New York, where the Niners play the following week. 2 turf games back-to-back. That's just asking for trouble. The earliest realistic window might be when they return home to face the Rams. You look at the mechanics of this injury, and it makes perfect sense why it's so tricky. Every time Purdy plants that foot to cut, sprint, or throw, he's putting pressure on that same joint that's trying to heal. One wrong push, one awkward twist, and everything flares up again. That's why turf toe has ended seasons before. It's not flashy, but it's relentless. It's why a lot of fans, analysts, even people inside the building, questioned whether he should have played against Jacksonville in the first place. It's easy to say this now, but even back then, a lot of us were warning that it was too risky. He didn't look right in practice. Reports said he was overthrowing passes, couldn't drive the ball, and yet he suited up. What happened? Overthrows, picks, and by the end of the game, a visibly hobbled quarterback. That's not hindsight. That's a lesson in knowing when to protect your player from himself. But to be fair to Purdy, it's not hard to understand why he wanted to play. He's a competitor. He's fought his entire career to prove he belongs in this league. And after signing that new contract and seeing Jones performed so well, it's natural he didn't want to lose momentum or risk his spot. He wanted to show toughness, leadership, and loyalty to the team. The problem is, sometimes toughness can hurt more than it helps. When you think big picture, not just for this season, but for his long-term career, you realize that sitting out was probably the smarter move. Early season games against AFC opponents don't define a playoff run, but re-aggravating a turf toe injury could derail one. Now, this situation also raises another interesting question. Where would the 49ers be without M. Jones? Because, honestly, the guy has been nothing short of a savior. For wins in 5 starts, steady under pressure, and playing some of the most efficient football in the league. He's not just managing games, he's making plays. He's keeping the offense alive, and in doing so, he might have just revived his own career. If he keeps this up, there's no doubt other teams will start seeing him as a legitimate starting option down the line. And when you think about the moves the 49ers made this offseason, signing him and bringing in Robert Saleh might go down as 2 of the best decisions across the entire NFL. If San Francisco had to rely on a third-string guy like Brandon Allen or Joshua Dobbs right now, this season might already be lost. Instead, they're 5-2, undefeated in the division, and staying competitive in a conference that's still wide open. Jones deserves a ton of credit for that. He's completing nearly 70% of his passes, averaging over 280 yards per game. And while he's thrown 4 picks, at least 2 of them weren't his fault. He's showing poise, precision, and that calm confidence that keeps everyone around him locked in. It's been impressive to watch. And then there's the comeback story of Brandon Aiyuk. It's easy to forget just how good this guy was when he was healthy, but when you look back at his 2023 numbers, it's unreal. 75 catches, over 1,300 yards, nearly 18 yards per reception, and 7 touchdowns. He was one of the best route runners in the game, with footwork that could break ankles. But since tearing his ACL, MCL, and damaging his meniscus last year, it's been a long road back. Those are brutal injuries, and to come back from all 3 takes time. John Lynch gave a small update recently, saying the progress is real and there's hope we'll see Aiyuk later this season. That's huge news for the offense. Nobody expects him back right away, but if he returns anywhere between weeks 8 and 10 and gets anywhere close to his old form, that's a massive boost. Of course, there's been some tension around him too. The contract situation last offseason wasn't handled perfectly, and his conditioning early last year raised eyebrows. He didn't look like the same explosive player we saw in 2023, and that's part of why some people think the front office regretted handing him that deal so early. But talent like his doesn't disappear. Once he's back to full speed, he changes this offense completely. Having him stretch the field and draw attention from defenders opens everything for McCaffrey, Kittle, and Debo. So, here we are, looking ahead to Houston. The question on every fan's mind, will the 49ers keep this train rolling without Purdy? Can M. Jones continue to lead the charge? The Texans are scrappy, but if the Niners' defense keeps playing with the same intensity, and Jones continues his efficient rhythm, San Francisco can absolutely pull this off. The team's depth is being tested, the injuries are frustrating, but the resilience has been impressive. Every time people start doubting, this group find a way to respond. And with that, the spotlight stays on Brock Purdy. Will he be back? Nobody really knows. What we do know is that he needs to be 100%, not 80, not 90, before stepping back on that field. The season is long, and the Niners have their eyes on something much bigger than just surviving October. Now, while everyone's been focused on Brock Purdy's injury, there's another major storyline that could quietly shape the rest of this season. What John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan decide to do before the trade deadline. Every year around this time, the conversation turns to whether the Niners should make a move to strengthen their roster, and this season feels no different. Sitting at 5-2, right in the mix for control of the NFC, the opportunity is there. But with the injuries piling up to key defensive players like Nick Bosa and Fred Warner, it's fair to ask if the team can really keep this level of play without some reinforcements. Lynch has been steady in his public comments, saying the organization doesn't have to make a trade because they believe in the depth inside the building. But let's be honest, when you look closely at the current defensive end rotation, it's hard not to feel a little uneasy. Mel Williams, Sam Okwano, and Robert Beal are doing their best, but that's not the kind of group that intimidates elite offensive lines. There's just not enough proven firepower there. The pass rush has been inconsistent, and the unit feels like it's missing that spark that once made this defense the most feared in football. That's why so many people are calling for a move, not desperation, but ambition. because the NFC is wide open, and when you have a team this talented, you can't afford to waste a year. Lynch has said the team will make a deal only if it makes sense both now and in the future. That means they're looking for someone young, affordable, and with upside, not a one-year rental that will cost valuable draft capital. But that kind of move isn't easy to find. It's not just about fit on the field. It's about how a new player would fit into the culture of a team that's built its success on chemistry and trust. Still, with the trade deadline coming up fast, you can feel that sense of urgency growing. The 49ers have worked too hard to let this season slip away because of depth issues. Meanwhile, the offensive side of the ball has its own storyline developing at center. Jake Brendel has been a reliable presence for the past few seasons. Nothing flashy, but solid and dependable. Then came the hamstring injury against the Falcons, which opened the door for Matt Hennessy, and what we saw from him was eye-opening. The offense seemed to have a different rhythm, more athleticism at the center position, quicker pulls, better footwork and protection. Sometimes one small change on the offensive line can elevate the whole unit, and that's exactly what it looked like in that game. Hennessy's numbers were impressive. 0 sacks allowed, 1 pressure, and a strong efficiency grade that reflected how clean the pocket stayed for Jones. The coaches have been quick to praise both guys, saying Brendel has been a stalwart, but you can sense that they see something intriguing in Hennessy. It's not about replacing anyone permanently, but about finding combinations that unlock the best version of this offense. And that's what makes this team so interesting. There's constant competition, constant improvement, and a willingness to adapt. The Niners aren't afraid to make bold choices if it means giving themselves an edge. Now, circling back to Brock Purdy for a second, his situation doesn't just affect him. It impacts how the entire offense operates. His mobility, his pocket movement, and his timing are what make this system hum. Without him, Kyle Shanahan has had to adjust his play calling, leaning more on quick passes and timing routes to help Jones stay comfortable. And to his credit, Jones has handled it beautifully. He's not trying to be Purdy. He's not forcing big plays that aren't there. He's taking what the defense gives him, spreading the ball around, and trusting the system. That's the hallmark of a good backup. Play within yourself, execute the plan, and keep the team in position to win. But as good as Jones has been, there's a ceiling without Purdy. The explosive plays, the creativity, the improvisation, those are the things that separate good teams from great ones in January. That's why everyone's watching the rehab process so closely. Every small update from practice matters. When teammates say he's moving better, that's a sign of hope. When he's spotted throwing again, it's a glimmer of light. But until he's back in full participation, this team has to prepare as if Jones is the guy. And honestly, there's something admirable about the way the locker room has responded to all this adversity. There's no panic, no finger-pointing, just a sense of purpose. Veterans like George Kittle and Deebo Samuel have stepped up vocally. Christian McCaffrey continues to be a monster every time he touches the ball, proving once again that he's one of the most complete offensive weapons in the league. The defense, even shorthanded, still plays with that trademark energy that's become the Niners' identity. But before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe to 49ers Zone and hit the like button on this video. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on the San Francisco 49ers. And don't forget to share your thoughts on the news in the comments below. Rumors are swirling around Santa Clara this week after a surprising sighting sent the NFL world into a frenzy. According to multiple eyewitnesses, Pittsburgh Steelers superstar linebacker TJ Watt was spotted arriving at the San Francisco 49ers headquarters early Tuesday morning, and not just slipping in quietly. Sources say Watt was greeted with cheers, cameras, and even a small celebration organized by members of the Niners staff, fueling speculation that something major might be brewing between the reigning Defensive Player of the Year and one of the league's top contenders. While no official statement has been released by either team, several insiders suggest that Watt's visit was far from casual. The linebacker, known for his fierce competitiveness and leadership, was reportedly welcomed by General Manager John Lynch and head coach Kyle Shanahan, who appeared all smiles during the brief encounter. One bystander described the atmosphere as electric, like everyone knew they were witnessing the start of something big. Social media erupted within minutes. Photos allegedly showing what stepping out of a black SUV at Levi's Stadium went viral, and 49ers fans immediately began dreaming of a defensive front that could include Nick Bosa and TJ Watt, a combination that would strike fear into every offensive coordinator in the NFL. Others, however, are skeptical, pointing out that the Steelers would never let their defensive cornerstone walk away easily. Could this be a simple off-season visit between friends? Or is there a blockbuster trade quietly taking shape behind the scenes? Watt's contract runs through the end of next season, and Pittsburgh has shown no public indication of shopping him. Yet, in an era where star players are increasingly taking control of their futures, no rumor seems too wild to believe. For now, fans are left refreshing their feeds and speculating on what this visit really means. One thing's for sure. Wherever TJ Watt goes, headlines and chaos follow. And if that place turns out to be San Francisco, the NFL landscape could be in for a seismic shift. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the San Francisco 49ers, make sure to subscribe to 49ers Zone and give this video a like. We always look forward to hearing your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.